Looks like we're nice and live, so that is good. I'm happy. We're live in a few places. This is good news. Fantastic. Cool, guys. And here we go. Well, everyone, welcome back to the Coaches to the Moon podcast, my friends. My name's Alex. I'm here solo today. I had a beautiful podcast lined up for you, but the powers that be in the parenting world got in the way. My guest, Zach Dixon, is coming on next week, and I cannot wait to have him on board. But he, like me, has a young baby, and every now and then those things take priority, which is completely the reason we're in business, right? So we can drop everything and hang out with our babies whenever we want to. At least that is the dream. So, guys, let's talk about this. I'll do a quick one today because no one wants to listen to me speak for too long. But let's talk about this. How many times have you created an ad campaign where you've worked on a landing page, you've worked on some graphics or a video, you've worked on the headline, some ad copy, the back end, you've got your calendar set up, everything set up, ready to go, and then you click launch and you sit there eagerly in anticipation, and then you get the notification your ad has been disapproved or rejected, and you check it out and you violated some policy that Mark Zuckerberg and his team, they've written this policy, and you're violating these rules. Even if you don't think you are, ads get disapproved all the time. And the first thing to say is that this is just a fact of life. It's a fact of marketing. It's a fact of the internet. There's always going to be red tape to get out there. And I think we should be blessed to realize that when we're marketing on Facebook and social media, it's so much easier than it used to be marketing in traditional media, because really the only barrier to entry, the only red tape is actually going to be whether or not your ad gets approved. Because back in the day, say you wrote an ad for TV or for the newspaper, it's going to go through executives and boards and producers and, all these levels of men in suits to get approved and then to get pushed out there. And it costs thousands and tens of thousands of dollars to do. These days, we can test an ad campaign and put it out there on $5 a day if we want to. So this is a good thing. If you ever get frustrated by your ads getting disapproved, just remember, we're in a very lucky time, because anyone out there can market and create a promotional campaign for their business, and no one can tell them what to do. No one can tell them the way it has to be, except for just following a few simple rules. And that's what we're going to go through today. I'm going to give you 4 of the things I've learned, 4 simple little secrets that will help you to get your ads approved every time, or if they do get disapproved, to really be able to see what it was that got them disapproved in the first place. But hopefully I'll save you some time by not having to go through all that rigmarole. I'll pre-frame, some of my ads get disapproved still. My marketer, my marketing mentor, Scott, multi-million dollar business, his ads get disapproved all the time. It just happens. It's just a fact of life. It happens all the time. It's best not to get emotional, and we'll touch on that right at the end. But the first thing, here are the 4 what not to do's of writing Facebook ads. Number 1, don't be offensive. Don't be vulgar. Don't be aggressive. Now, offense is given, not taken. No. Offense is taken, not given, is the way to say it. People get offended by things even if you didn't mean to be offensive. So when we're writing ads, try to focus on not being aggressive, not being vulgar. And this is a pretty simple one, okay? Don't swear. Don't use swear words, and don't even try to fake swear words. You used to be able to get away by writing the term bullshit with a little asterisk, that sort of thing, or kind of pretending to swear or alluding to a swear word. You really can't do that anymore. I'd recommend just be classy. And even if you swear a lot like me, because I used to be a chef, try to avoid that language in your ads and figure out another way to say it. Firstly, you will be excluding, ostracizing some of your potential audience who don't like that sort of language. And secondly, odds are it won't get approved in the first place anyway. So let's think of some better ways to say whatever you want to say with cleaner language, And absolutely, if you want to be cheeky, be cheeky. If you want to allude to things, allude to things. I once launched an ad for a sex and relationships seminar, and it was just a big eggplant. We all know what the eggplant emoji means. It didn't say anything, but we all knew what it meant. That's the kind of thing you can get away with, because there's nothing wrong with an eggplant, but it's alluding to something, and we all know that. So definitely be cheeky if you want to push the boundaries a bit. But first rule, very simple: don't be offensive, don't swear, and definitely don't use any sort of language that will be derogatory towards a certain group of people, and don't be hateful. Just be nice. Let's be nice, let's be professional. Pretty simple rule. Let's do that first. Okay, now we've passed that barrier, we get into some more complicated and nuanced things about Facebook ads getting approved. The second one is, don't refer to people's personal attributes. Personal attributes is a very funny term that Facebook tends to use whenever you are calling someone out on an aspect of themselves that maybe they don't like or maybe they're sensitive about. The reason for this is social platforms want to make sure that everyone is having a good time and feeling safe on their website. So they don't want to come across some smarmy advertiser who is telling them that they're fat or broke or lazy or behind in their bills or they're lonely or they're smelly or they've got bad skin or whatever. We don't want to talk to people about these things. It will make people feel bad, which we don't want to do. We want to make people feel good. We want them to like us, and it'll give them cause to give us negative feedback on our ad if they feel that they're being triggered or called out by something that you're saying. And too much negative feedback on our ads, they'll get shut down, they'll get slowed down, your ad account may even be turned off altogether. But most likely the ad won't get approved in the first place if we're focusing on people's personal attributes. So let's talk about that. So for example, I used to deal in the health space, in helping people to get fitter, lose weight, be leaner. What happens specifically if our job is helping something with a personal attribute and wanting to change that, like being overweight? We want to help them to lose weight. So what you can't do is you can't go out there and say, do you want to lose weight? Are you struggling to keep up with your kids? Are you worried that you're going to miss out on fun things in life because of your size or because of your health? Don't say that, because if we go out there and we say, do you struggle with this? Do you struggle with that? People will be sitting there thinking, I do struggle with that, but fuck you, Alex. You don't need to tell me that. Okay. Here's what I do. I talk about my problems. I talk in first person. So where I used to say, do you want to lose weight? Are you struggling? Are you struggling with your body? Are the things you want to do, out of your reach because you are 20 kilos over where you want to be? What I would say instead would be something more like, I used to struggle with my body, like a lot. Years of poor eating habits left me in the worst shape of my life, right around the time we had kids. I was worried that if I didn't make a change, I would miss out on some truly precious moments. Playing in the park, chasing bubbles, teaching them to swim, running alongside them when they learned to ride a bike. I knew I had to make a change. So here's what I did. And then lead into talking about your product, your solution. You see how that's different? You see how that makes more sense, and how I'm able to have someone relate to me, even if it's not true, even if it didn't happen to me. Use some creative license. But you see how we're able to make someone relate to us without pointing out their specific problems, their specific issues that they may feel sensitive about. They can see you and talking about your vulnerabilities and know that you are in the same boat, or at least you were in the same boat, and now you can help them to get out of it. This is how you get around this. Now, the same thing can be done. Let's say we're doing money, okay? Don't come out of the gate and say your company helps people make more money online, like me, you don't come out of the gate and say, are you struggling to make sales in your business? Are the bills piling up? Do you feel sick every time you look at your bank account, or when you go out to eat and your partner wants to order a nice bottle of wine or dessert? That's no way to live, bro. You're going to be broke. You talk to people like that, they're going to start to hate you, and they're going to shut off, get defensive, put walls up, and never want to have anything to do with you. However, if we swap it around, Turn the mirror back on yourself. Not long ago, I never thought I could make my business work. The invoices were piling up. I hadn't paid myself in months, and I was in real danger of losing everything I'd worked for. I remember the sick feeling in my stomach whenever I would look at my bank account or I get a message from a client leaving the business, or even when I got the weekly food bill, or my partner and I went out for dinner and she wanted to order an antipasto board instead of a bowl of chips. I remember the feelings of how difficult it can be until I found this one simple system that almost seemed too easy to ever work. And once I did it, I never heard objections on my sales calls anymore. That sort of thing. You know, that right there would be how I would approach helping someone to make more money with my 6-step sales system or my Mars method advertising system or whatever it is you're selling them. Odds are you're coming from that place because you've been there yourself. Most coaches have been there themselves. So we have stories about ourselves that we can use to sell. Story is an incredible way of selling. And instead of turning the mirror on the person, shining a spotlight on their issues, show them that you had the issues. You know, you can always do this third person as well. If this didn't happen to you, you could talk about your client who did the same thing. Okay. Donnie always used to struggle with his way. Or Sharon was really struggling to make a change in her business until she found this system that I introduced her to. Okay. You can still talk about it. Oh, my microphone just unplugged. Getting that back on board now. Give me just a sec. All right. This is what happens when you talk with your hands too much like me. You know, you unplug your microphone. There we go. You can still talk about exactly what you want to talk about in your ads, but don't make people feel bad, even if you don't mean to. Don't inadvertently make people feel bad by pointing out the things that they are sensitive about. Okay, so this is the problem. You know, people struggle with a lot of things, and as marketers, advertisers, businesses, we're often here to help them with those things. But Facebook wants us to tell them we can help them with them without telling them that they have the problem in the first place. It's difficult, but there's ways around it. Talk about yourself, talk about clients, don't talk about the prospect, okay? Talk about the prospect on the phone once you're on the phone with them. Then you can get into their emotions and really figure out what they need for you to help them. But in the first place, let's just kind of, you know, stay on the outsides a little bit. Be relatable, but not too intrusive. Okay, number 3. The number 3 what not to do of Facebook marketing ad copy is don't make huge promises you can't deliver on. Now, this is probably the biggest gray area for me when it comes to writing these ads, because Facebook robots that kind of check the ads in the first place, they really hate it when we say we can help someone achieve a big result, even if we're 100% telling the truth. Okay, so for example, I had a marketing client who was one of my podcast guests do $1 million in the bank, $1 million cash in sales in the bank through one marketing campaign we did. One messenger campaign, one creative, $1 million in the bank. But can I go out and tell people that he did that? No. Can I claim that I can help you make 7 figures in your business through Facebook marketing? Yes, I can. I've done it. But can I go out there and say, I will help you make $1 million? No. God, no, I can't do that. I had clients when I was in the weight loss game. You know, we had a client who came through our program when we had our Limitless company, and she lost 75 kilograms. 75 kilos. If I went out and said, follow this system and you'll lose 75 kilos, we can't do that. We can't do that. We need to not make huge promises, even if we can deliver on them. And the thing is, once again, Facebook and these social platforms want people to feel safe. They want people to have a good time. And if you go out there and you make a promise, which probably won't get approved in the first place, but you say to someone, I can help you to achieve X goal, and then they go out and for whatever reason, they pay you and they don't achieve it, because maybe they didn't work hard enough or something went wrong, or because everything's intangible and different, well, then they can complain, that you were allowed to advertise on Facebook and your company made false promises and they didn't get the results and they've wasted money and they're angry at you and they're angry at Facebook. It's the same as people who sue McDonald's when they get diabetes for McDonald's, selling them too much fast food. It's the same as people who burn themselves on a coffee that they've spilt on themselves. People love to, and this is not a rant, but people do like to, push the blame onto others. And so if you're not able to help someone get a result and it's kind of their fault because they didn't do the work, they'll throw the blame on you. They'll throw the blame on Facebook and they'll say that I was told I could make this amount of money and I didn't. Therefore, I was lied to. Therefore, I had a bad time on Facebook. Therefore, I had a bad experience and it's Facebook's fault. So here's what we need to do to get around that. Even if you can deliver on big promises in your advertising, don't talk about the specifics. And this is going to get a bit more complicated. Okay. So let's use a similar idea to what we did in the last step, which was let's talk about other people's results. Let's use case studies. Okay. So if I was to go out there and say, I can help you make more money in your business through my Facebook marketing, then, or make you $1 million in your Facebook marketing, then that's tough, because everyone's different and most likely Facebook will disapprove that. But if I went out there and said, here's the story of business. Whoa, this microphone, man. I went out there and said, here's the story of James. Yes. We did one campaign and he made $1 million in a year. Then that's a good thing. We can say that because that's true. That happened to James. Do you want to learn how he did it? Here's what you do. I had a business. This is another example. And I was able to learn to run a marathon in just 30 days from not being a runner. How is that possible? I'll tell you how I did it. Watch my free webinar. But if I said, learn to run a marathon in 30 days, even if you've never run before, then that kind of promise, being specific like that, that's tough. That people won't achieve that goal maybe. And so therefore they have something to complain about. Talk about case studies, about what other people have done, and let people get excited by their story, not by promising what they can do. Okay. That's part one. The other part of this is that Facebook really, really, really will assume that you're selling a multi-level marketing or network marketing or pyramid scheme product most of the time you're selling anything, okay? Because that's the other thing. People have been burned by network marketing, multi-level marketing programs an awful lot because they get promised the world and then they don't do the work and then it doesn't deliver. So what do? They complain and everyone gets ramifications. So what we need to do on that one is we need to avoid Facebook being able to misinterpret what our ad does. So here's how we do this. You know how I just said, don't make specific promises? I mean, don't give specific outcomes, really specific outcomes like a dollar figure or a kilograms figure, but do be specific about exactly what your process is. So for example, if you go out there and you say, click here if you want to make some more money online, instant red flags. No one's going to let that fly. It's scammy, it's spammy, it's weird. It could be anything. Instead, if you said, download my plug and play, highly profitable and easy to run e-commerce template so you can sell your own products and connect with thousands of customers and retailers within just 6 weeks. That right there is a very specific kind of process that we're going to give them. Learn to become a highly profitable Facebook digital marketer with our 6-month certification. Go from frustrated, tired, and sore to being confident, strong, and ready to run a marathon over, using our, 5-step system. Be specific about the process, the outcomes. And it does sound like I'm going back and forth here, but it does mean that what you can do is give people an outcome, but don't make specific promises. And this is where it gets into a gray area. Remember how I said this was the gray area? This is the gray area. So if I had one final thing, it would be, don't put a dollar figure. Don't put a kilo figure on it. Don't be too specific about a promise. Be specific about the deliverables, the process. And finally is this one. Number 4, what not to do of Facebook advertising is don't try to hide anything. So this is one that catches a lot of people out, because whether they're doing it on purpose or not, Facebook kind of knows if you're out there and you're trying to circumvent the rules a little bit. You're trying to take someone from here to here to here to here to here, and try to hide something within your ad, within your campaign, that wouldn't fly on the front page. So if, for example, your ad was written perfectly, it was specific, it was not making massive promises, it was really clean and enticing, and then they came to your landing page and your landing page said, click here if you want to make $1 million this year, then Facebook's going to flag that as well, because your landing page isn't being compliant. So that's the first thing you got to remember. Wherever your ad goes, that needs to comply with the rules as well. And that is a process where you use the same sort of process when you're, in the back end of your ad as the front end. Just, just be smart about it, right? What some people will try and do is they'll try and use multiple channels and chains to hide their real message further away from Facebook. So, for example, I run campaigns where people come from a Facebook ad, they fill in a form, and then they get sent to a chatbot, maybe a little messenger chat, and then maybe they get sent to a landing page after that. I might try and hide something scammy, hide my pyramid scheme in the landing page. Facebook can find that. Or they'll say, what are you trying to hide? Why are you doing so many steps? So just make sure that whatever level you're on, whatever level of the ad you're on, it is compliant with the policy. It's just helping, it's educating, it's just doing the right thing. Because firstly, Facebook is very smart. They're going to figure it out. And secondly, you just don't want to waste time and money on creating ads that are centered around a false premise. Facebook marketing can get expensive. We're buying traffic. This isn't like a cheap thing to do. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes work, it takes money, it takes investment, it takes energy. So don't try and, get around the rules. Don't try and bend the rules. Just follow what they say. It's annoying, but you have a better time and your business will perform better because of it. Okay, so let's recap. Number 1, don't be offensive, vulgar, or hateful. Number 2, don't focus on people's personal attributes in a way that makes them feel victimized or triggered or called out. Number 3, don't make huge promises you can't deliver on, or don't make huge promises that people will not be able to deliver on. 4 is don't try to hide anything. Make sure that every level of your ad is exactly the way it should be, from the Facebook copy and image down to the end of the landing page. Finally, some final notes about this, right? At the end of the day, no one knows if this is going to happen or not. Your ad will get approved or rejected. You just never know until you click publish, and then all you can do is wait, right? So sometimes your ad will get approved almost immediately. Sometimes it'll be sitting in the review stage for days, and then you kind of have to do that, message Facebook and say what's going on. I've had completely tame, straighty 180, perfect Facebook ads get approved and then rejected. I've had ones that I thought was pushing the boundary a little bit, get approved straight away. I've had some stuff run for a few days and then get turned off. Some gets turned off immediately and then turned on when you ask for a review. You never really know. But if you follow these 4 steps, then you know that you get more of a chance. But the final thing I'll say is this: don't get emotional. This whole thing, it can be very emotional when we're connected to our business and our money and the investments we're making. And we can feel kind of like we're being messed around if we're just trying our best and things keep getting disapproved. But just be logical. Just go back through the steps. If you're writing something from too much emotion or from a negative space, then most likely you're going to write a bad ad. You're going to do bad creative. You're going to miss out steps. Take a step back and realize if we approach this logically, follow these 4 steps and just kind of tick boxes, we're going to get a better ad out. It's going to drive in more traffic, more customers. It'll get approved faster, and our life gets a lot less stressful. So the less you stress about it on the front end, then the better results you'll have on the back end. Okay, so the next time your ads get disapproved, which they will, don't get emotional about it. Realize that this is part of the process, and every one that gets disapproved is helping you figure out what's going to work the next time. Every mistake is leading us towards a solution. So, guys, that is my 4 tips of what not to do to make sure that your ads get approved first time, every time. Although you never know. I love you to bits, guys. I'm going to be here with a guest, maybe even 2 guests next week. Thank you so much for listening, watching wherever you are. I hope you don't mind me rambling, but I wanted to give you some value today, even though I'm guestless. And let's catch up next week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Coaches to the Moon podcast, and I'll catch you guys on the flip flop.